What is going on, guys? It is Kyle here with Speed Bets, bringing you guys a UFC breakdown, UFC 310. I'm super pumped for this card, man. Make sure you want to get in for these bets. For this card, I have a weird high level of confidence for a lot of these fights. That doesn't happen too often. The last card, UFC Macau, aside from the two women underdogs that nobody picked, I only picked one fight incorrectly, including a couple dog picks. That's how we do it around here. Then before that, I had another almost flawless performance, picking just about every single fight right the card before that. PFL, I got two or three wrong. Not too proud of my results there. Overexposed myself to a couple of those guys. But now we're back to the UFC. Very happy to be back and to be back with this great card. If you guys want to get these picks, join the Discord. The Discord is 100% free to join. The top link right in the description below. Free to join. I'm going to give out a UFC free play on Saturday. And then alternatively, if you want to get all the plays, you want to join the VIP. That's where I'm sending all my bets throughout the week. The DFS slips, underdog, prize picks, better. And then, of course, the actual bets. You have your FanDuel, your DraftKings, all that good stuff. We got it all covered. We've been crushing the UFC recently, and we're looking to keep that going. First fight of the night here, we have Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Lucas Brzeski. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest. This is probably one of the lowest level heavyweight fights you're ever going to see. Kennedy Nzechukwu is not even a heavyweight. He just couldn't hang at light heavyweight, so he's going up to heavyweight where everyone sucks even more. I mean, Lucas Brzeski, this guy has never done a single thing that's impressed me. He won his UFC, like, Dana White's Contender Series fight, and then it got overturned because he was on gear. And then he still gets in the UFC. I don't know if they found that out too late or what happened there. Big thing there, overturned that fight, so he doesn't even have a Contender Series win. He gets into the UFC, he loses a split decision to Martin Buday. Andrei Arlovsky, at the age of 42, is also losing a split decision to Martin Buday. How are you going to be doing that in the prime of your career? It doesn't make sense to me. And then his fights after that. You lose to Cara Williams, that's okay. Cara Williams actually is pretty decent. The UFC cut him because he just isn't as entertaining, but he's actually good at fighting. And then Waldo Cortez smokes you in the first, that's embarrassing. You get smoked in the first by Mick Porkin, that's embarrassing. Squeaked out a win over Walter Walker. It's the only thing that saved him from being cut. He'll probably be cut after this fight. Kennedy Nzechukwu also, I mean, he's a guy that had to fight 2 times in the Contender Series. He got a split decision win the first time, not impressive, had to come back, get a finish in that one. And then he's in the UFC. He doesn't really have a ton of good wins. I mean, he lost to Paul Craig. Like, if you're a striker losing to Paul Craig, that's tough, man. That's really tough. And then we all know he has that fluke win over Carlos Ulberg where he just waited Carlos Ulberg out until he tired out super early in Ulberg's career, and then he knocked him out in like the second round, late second round. It's not something that would ever happen again. Ulberg would absolutely starch him in the rematch, but it is what it is. And then last time out, we know he fought against Chris Barnett. Now, I was saying Chris Barnett could have done something in that fight, but then right as he comes out, he just jumps up, injures himself, makes it worse by trying some of his spinning shit, and it was all over from there. I mean, Chris Barnett just fucked his career over by taking so much time off, and unfortunately, Kennedy got out of it with a round 1 knockout. However, I don't really count that as too great of a performance. He didn't really do anything. It was like relatively even. He started piecing him up once Chris Barnett was already hurt. And then he's coming off that knockout loss. Started the split decision then to OSP, which is crazy. He was like a minus 600 favorite, losing a split decision to OSP. And before that, he got knocked out by Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby sucks. I mean, Kennedy is going to win this fight, likely by knockout. But if you're betting on this fight, I think you're crazy, man. Both these guys suck. Neither of these guys should be in the UFC. And I'm moving on from this fight. Give me Kennedy by knockout, probably round 2, round 3. He's a historically slow starter, although Brzeski has been slept in the first before. So maybe the first, but I'm calling second round knockout. Next fight up, we have the past versus the future, and very much so in Clay Guida, the 18-18 UFC fighter. And we have Chase Hooper here, 13-3. I've been very impressed with Chase Hooper recently. He does have 3 UFC losses, but I'm not too worried about that. He's super young, and his last loss is a knockout loss to Steve Garcia. He started Steve Garcia's fucking knockout streak. This guy is on the biggest knockout streak in the UFC right now, Steve Garcia. That's not a bad loss at all. He's reeling off wins against Nick Fiore, dominant striking, which is weird to say. Chase Hooper had like 200 significant strikes. A lot of it was just kind of peppering the guard, but still, it was insane to see. And then Jordan Levitt made easy work of Jordan Levitt, who was supposed to be a jiu-jitsu guy. And then Vyacheslav Borislav, this is the fight that everyone's talking about. He kind of faked the takedown, threw the overhand right, And then that's what the threat of the takedown can do. I don't think Chase Hooper's striking is good at all. I really don't. But the threat of the takedown can make someone striking good. Same reason Bilal Muhammad outstruck Leon Edwards. Bilal's not a better striker than Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards knew early on when Bilal established that takedown in the very first round, he got in on that double leg, picked him up, dunked him, took him down, whatever. Leon knew for the rest of the fight he had to keep his hands a little bit lower to react to the takedowns, and that's why Bilal Muhammad was able to pepper him up the whole fight. On paper, it looks like Bilal Muhammad outstruck him, and in reality, he did. However, it's not like he was just putting on a striking masterclass. Leon Edwards was worried about the takedown, so his hands weren't up. Same thing for Vyacheslav Borislev. I mean, this guy, he's been taken down like 30 times in his UFC career. I mean, it's ridiculous. Everyone wants to take this guy down because of his striking accolades. So you're seeing people out there saying Chase Hooper's striking is super improved because he knocked him down. I mean, no, this guy is worried more than anyone else in the UFC probably about being taken down. I mean, you think of guys like Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira's opponents just come out saying they're not going to take him down. Like, even a guy like that isn't too worried about the takedowns. But a guy like Vyacheslav Borislev, I mean, everyone's taking him down, so he knows it's coming. Against Chase Hooper, who's like exclusively grappling, he probably figured it was coming and he got caught. It is what it is. If this fight doesn't hit the ground, these guys just had a grappling match. Clay Guida shot a takedown. Chase Hooper stuffed it, worked him from there. Chase Hooper made light work of him. I am concerned if this fight stays on the feet. Okay, if this fight stays on the feet, I think we're going long. I don't think Clay Guida is going to put Chase Hooper out. I don't think Chase Hooper is going to put Clay Guida out. But if Chase Hooper does get in on a takedown, or if Clay Guida makes the mistake of shooting a takedown, I think this fight's all but over. I think Chase Hooper is live to get like a ground and pound TKO if he gets him in like, say he gets Clay Guida in like a triangle type submission where he has the triangle, he has the rubber guard pulled up, and just kind of like a Paul Craig where he's just got the triangle locked in, but he's just hammering elbows or something. I mean, against Vyacheslav Borislev, we saw on the ground, he's just putting in some real work on his face. That fight probably could have been stopped due to knockout like 10 times over. Clay Guida's a like historically hard guy to knock out, but I can definitely see it. I think the most likely outcome is Chase Hooper by a submission, but if he doesn't get the takedowns, do not be surprised to see this fight go long. But make no mistake, Chase Hooper should win this fight, wherever it goes. Next fight up, we have a battle of the Unks. We have Michael Chiesa taking on Max Griffin. Michael Chiesa used to be this kind of high-pressure, lights-out grappler. He was submitting everyone. That's the majority of his wins in the promotion. Then he got a job as an analyzer or a commentator, whatever you want to call that. And he just kind of been on the sideline for a while. Came back, beat the corpse of Tony Ferguson, unfortunately. And that's kind of where he's just been chilling out. Max Griffin over here, he's like 8-8 in the UFC. He debuted against Kobe Covington back in the day and got knocked out, TKO'd by Kobe Covington. Crazy. I mean, he's one of 2 wins that Kobe Covington has over UFC fighters. RDA and Max Griffin are Kobe Covington's only 2 active wins, which is crazy to say. But this fight is a little interesting because Max Griffin should be way, way better on the feet. Michael Chiesa should be way, way better on the ground. So I think this fight's more or less, do you think Michael Chiesa can get in on the takedown? Or do you think Max Griffin can stuff them and keep it on the feet? I think more than likely we're going long in this fight. I mean, Michael Chiesa's only been knocked out once. He's never knocked anyone out. The submissions is where he's going to shine. Max Griffin, he's never been submitted. So I think this fight is looking like it's going to go to decision for me. I don't personally see this fight really ending unless Chiesa gets in and he just turns back the clock and gets a nice submission on him. I just can't really see that happening. I think Max Griffin's too much of a vet to get choked by Michael Chiesa at this point in his career. I think, in my opinion, I don't know if Michael Chiesa is going to be getting the takedowns. He's somehow the younger fighter in this matchup, which is a little concerning. But I think Max Griffin can kind of pepper him on the feet, keep the range. It's a big cage. It's going to make it hard for Chiesa to get in on the takedowns. And I'm going to pick Max Griffin by decision. He's a slight dog, but I can't see Michael Chiesa winning this fight by getting in close. If we go to the grappling here, 51% takedown accuracy versus 68% takedown defense. Again, nothing impressive. Like, nothing at all impressive there on either side. Michael Chiesa is going to try. He gets 3.35 takedowns per fight on average, which is interesting because usually it's like one takedown he kind of gets you. But Max Griffin, in my opinion, should be able to stuff those, and this fight's going long. Also, you see the significant strikes rate here, landed per minute. Max Griffin, I mean, he's almost double. He's over double Michael Chiesa's. So if they're staying on the feet, he should outstrike Michael Chiesa like 2-1 easily. And I think this fight should not be that close. Next fight up, we have Cody Durden taking on Joshua Van. Now, this fight is another one that a lot of people, I see a lot of love for Josh Van, and I understand Josh Van is a very fun fighter, a very good fighter, a very promising fighter. I just don't know if he's going to get it done. I think Cody Durden's just a better overall fighter. I think he can take this fight wherever he wants it. He's not lost on the feet. Cody Durden's not ass on the feet. Against Matt Schnell in his last fight, I know it's Matt Schnell. When he saw the opening, he took it. He got that choke with ease. Josh Van, he has been submitted before. Not saying it's going to happen again. I don't know if Cody Durden necessarily is going to get a sub over Josh Van. I just think this is a very tough fight for Josh Van. I think he's just so small. I mean, it says 5'5" to 5'7". I think Cody Durden's a little bit bigger than 5'7". Josh Van's going to be much smaller here. And Cody Durden, we just saw he filled out a bantamweight frame in that catchweight fight against Matt Schnell. He filled that frame out and he looked pretty damn good. This guy's not tiny. I think this fight's going to be super competitive. It's definitely going to come down to if Josh Van can stuff every takedown. His takedown defense has looked a lot better in the UFC than in the regional scenes. However, Cody Durden is relentless. This guy's in the physical prime of his career. He's right in the prime age. Josh Van is still super young, still learning. Got chinned not too recently against Charles Johnson. Then his fight with Edgar Chairez, which is one of the best fights I've ever seen. He's getting rocked everywhere. Edgar Chairez is dangerous, but he's not that dangerous. And he was kind of putting Josh Van on skates in multiple times. I think if Cody Durden can get Josh Van worrying about the takedowns, that opens him up upstairs like we were talking about earlier. It's going to open Josh Van up. He can get hit with a big shot. He might get dropped. Cody Durden, yeah, he got caught against Bruno Silva with that wild uppercut after he was winning the fight. It's just unfortunate it happens. If Josh Van lands something like that, I mean, what can you do? Certain times like that, you can't really predict certain things. Bruno Silva made a great adjustment. He knocked out Cody Durden. Josh Van can make a similar adjustment. That knee up the middle could deter Cody Durden. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think Cody Durden's going to get in on at least 2 takedowns. He's going to win 2 out of these 3 rounds by decision. Also, something to know right here, you see Cody Durden averages over 4 takedowns per fight. That signifies he doesn't have the greatest control. Like, if he takes you down, you can probably get back up. But that also signifies he's not going to stop trying. Josh Van, again, 83% takedown defense. It's looked pretty good. He might stuff the first. He can stuff the second. But what is he going to do when Cody Durden shoots a third, a fourth, a fifth takedown? I mean, there's fights where Cody Durden has shot upwards of 15 to 20 takedowns. He is relentless. He's not going to stop. If it's not working, he's not going to stop. He's not just going to be content striking. And I think that Cody Durden's going to do enough to take Josh Van down. He's going to win this fight by a grindy. Could be a split decision, kind of a damage versus control type thing. Next fight up, we have another battle of 2 unks coming at it here. We have Chris Weidman taking on Eric Anders. Both probably could retire after this fight. I believe in the last Eric Anders fight, he said he's kind of done after his contract's up. If we just look at the matchup from afar, it's wrestler versus wrestler. Eric Anders, he's a much better athlete per se, but Chris Weidman's just a better wrestler. He's got a lot of control in his last fight against Bruno Silva. We saw he was willing to do what it takes, man. If that's eye poke after eye poke to get the TKO, the technical decision, he'll do it. He don't care. If we think that that's going to be holding Eric Anders against the cage and kneeing that thigh, yeah, I don't mind that either. He's going to do that. He's going to do what it takes to win. He wants to go out on a win. Chris Weidman's a very prideful guy. He whatever it will take to get the win. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. Eric Anders has never impressed me. This guy's best win is before the UFC. He beat Brendan Allen on the regional scene in LFA. Came into the UFC. Lost his Marc-Andre Barriault, trash. Jung Young Park, not very good. Andre Muniz, not very good. Christoph Joko, not very good. Khalil Roundtree, he's pretty good. He's losing to Lyoto Machida, Thiago Santos. It's just nothing that he's doing down here is ultra impressive to me to make me think that he's going to be able to handle a Chris Weidman type pressure, even at this age. Chris Weidman came back against Brad Tavares after the long layoff for his leg injury. He was getting his wits back about him in the octagon, kind of a little cold, a little stiff. That is what it is. He looked decent in the Bruno Silva fight. He was winning the grappling exchanges, holding him against the cage, kneeing the thigh. Again, he's doing what it takes to get the job done. I think he can do something similar here. I think if you're betting on this fight, you're a little crazy, but Chris Weidman should be able to get this one done by decision. He lands more. Eric Anders gets hit a lot more, and Chris Weidman gets a lot more takedowns on average. Hoping those stats stay true. Although Eric Anders is a great takedown defense, I think Chris Weidman, he doesn't even need the takedown per se. He can rack up that control time on the cage and get the knees going and win this fight. This fight right here is one that interests me a lot. We have Randy Brown taking on Bryan Battle. Something to note, Randy Brown isn't necessarily this like up and comer. I mean, this guy's 34. He's been in the UFC for like 8 years. I mean, this guy lost to Bilal Muhammad before it was cool. Like, that's how long this guy's been in the UFC. He was fighting alongside Holly Holm. I for some reason in the back of my head, I kept thinking Randy Brown's this like up and coming guy, mixing him up with Danny Barlow a little bit. Not saying anything like that. Their styles are relatively similar, long, lanky strikers. Nothing to do with the race, guys. Come on. And then Bryan Battle here, he can kind of do everything. He's shown a serious ability to make improvements in the fights, which I think is huge. I think that knowing when to adapt, when to change is very important in these fights. And Randy Brown, he's kind of a fumbler when it comes down to it. He has good losses. His losses are very good. Recently losing to Jack Della Maddalena, Vicente Luque, Bilal Muhammad, Nico Price. Now we do need to talk about a couple of these because Randy Brown he just has like a knack for losing in spectacular fashion. Against JDM hits him with like a right hook. Randy Brown full on spazzes. He does like this cartoon ass animation and he falls flat on his forehead, but then he like recovers. And then JDM's ground and pounding him. The ref just has it out for Randy Brown. And then JDM eventually hops on the back and chokes him out. It's just the animation that I'll throw it on screen right now when he hits the ground is crazy. And then against Nico Price. Nico Price is in like an armbar type position. Randy Brown stacks him up, doing everything right. And then Nico Price flips him into like a modified X guard and hammer fists him from bottom and knocks Randy Brown out cold. I don't get it. I don't know. I think Bryan Battle is going to make this guy do the fucking chicken dance. He's going to knock him out cold. Probably like round 3. I think Randy Brown is a good striker. I just don't think he has what it takes to take on the pressure of Bryan Battle. Randy Brown thrives when we're both kind of walking around doing the man dance, Sean Strickland style. Counter striker, he's going to slip your punch. He's going to throw one back. He might sneak in a head kick or something. I think Bryan Battle's going to be privy to all that. I think Bryan Battle's going to push forward to walk him down, win the first couple rounds, and knock him out in the third round. Obviously, we saw in the last fight, Bryan Battle did just that to Kevin Jousset. The first round, he wasn't really getting it going. And then the second round, he found that knockout. He found the pressure. Before that, we all know that he would have knocked out Ange Loosa. That fight was not going Loosa's way. And then before that, AJ Fletcher. Bryan Battle does have skills on the ground as well. If Randy Brown gets taken down here, I don't know, man. I trust Bryan Battle a lot more than Randy Brown. And then, I mean, the Gabe Green fight, there's not much to talk about there. That guy just was trying to put Bryan Battle out, and Bryan Battle wasn't having any of it. Put him out in like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. The Rinat Fakhretdinov loss, that's a little questionable. Short notice for Bryan Battle. If they ran that one back, we all know how the fight would go this time around. So yeah, give me Bryan Battle, round 3 knockout or decision. I love him in this spot. Next fight up, Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. This fight should not be on the prelims. It should be on the main card. These two guys, they're actually both really not that boring. Okay, a lot of people, you're going to hear people say Movsar is one of the most boring fighters in the UFC. I disagree with that. Just because you're not getting finishes does not mean you're boring. His fight against Diego Lopez, he beat the absolute shit out of him. He almost finished him on multiple occasions. People want to make it out to be like that fight was close because Diego Lopez almost had a knee bar. You know what the cool thing about almost having a submission is? It means fucking nothing. It means you didn't have a submission. It means you probably lost the fight. Like, I hate this whole narrative that just because a submission attempt looked decent. I mean, Movsar, I think he grimaced for a second, and then he powered through, spun his way out of it, got back on top, went back to the ground and pound. That was a 30-27. Should have been on every card. Aljamain Sterling's a little bit different. He's more of a backpack grappler. And I think the difference in this fight is going to be on the feet in the striking. I think Movsar showed a lot of striking prowess in that Arnold Allen fight. Aljamain Sterling, his style is funky. His name is the Funk Master. He carries a funky style. I'll give him that. I just don't know what it's going to be against a guy like Movsar. Movsar is determined. This guy has his eyes set on being champ. Aljamain Sterling, I don't know, when you see guys go up a weight class, generally they're not trying to chase the title anymore. They're just trying to chase like fun fights, money fights, all that kind of stuff. Like Max Holloway, we're not going to see the same grit out of Max Holloway when he comes back to 155 after getting knocked out by Topuria. I think he knows he probably won't be champ in this division. He's going to go for fun fights. He's going to try and entertain the fans. I don't know if Aljamain Sterling has the drive in him right now. He's a good fighter. I love the guy. I just don't know that I can pick him in a spot against a guy like Movsar. This guy's undefeated, never been beat, confidence at an all-time high. He knows he's going to win this fight. He knows he's destined to fight Ilya. Ilya's probably going to chin the absolute shit out of him, but we'll see when that happens. Give me Movsar by decision. Next fight up, we have Vicente Luque taking on Themba Gorimbo. Now, I made a TikTok talking about Themba Gorimbo as the biggest finesser in the UFC history, and I stand on that. This guy finessed a house. He finessed a career. Listen to these UFC matchups right now, okay? You have your debut against AJ Fletcher. Okay, AJ Fletcher, not good. Somehow you lose that fight. Guillotine choke, whatever. Then he gets Takashi Sato. Trash. He was going to get matched up against Kiefer Crosby. Trash. Pete Rodriguez, trash. Ramiz Brahimaj, trash. Nico Price in 2024, trash. Now he gets Vicente Luque, who, what did Vicente Luque do in his last fight? Oh yeah, he pulled guard and then quit. I don't know what the fuck I was watching. Buckley didn't do shit to Luque. He didn't touch him up on the feet. Luque went in for a takedown. His takedown got stuffed. He pulled half guard, and then he just fucking put his hands up and quit. The second that his takedown got stuffed, he just put his hands up over his face and didn't try and move around, try and squirm, didn't try and throw back, didn't try and engage the feet to push off. He just laid there and quit. Coming off that brain bleed against Jeff Neal, I mean, this guy is fucking smoked. Luque's only like 32 and he's taking worlds of damage. Themba Gorimbo is going to win this fight by laying on Vicente Luque, and I don't think there's another way around it. This fight's very easy for me to predict. Give me Themba Gorimbo by decision. We have our third and final unk off on this card. Dominic Reyes taking on Anthony Smith. Two guys that have taken more damage than they need to. Dominic Reyes, for some reason, is a 3-1 favorite. I do not understand that. I mean, this guy has one fight in the last 3 years, I think. Last 2 years, 3 years. And it was over Dustin Jacoby. He found a knockout. Dustin Jacoby's probably one of the most chinny people on the roster, right next to Dominic Reyes. Anthony Smith got a win against Vitor Petrino, split decision over Ryan Spann. Two wins over Ryan Spann, actually. One of them was by a choke. I mean, he's beaten Devin Clark, Jimmy Crew. It's nothing crazy impressive. Losing to guys like Magomed Ankalaev, Johnny Walker, Khalil Roundtree, Roman Dolidze. There's not a lot of shame in those losses. I mean, getting out technically struck by Johnny Walker is a little crazy. But I mean, there's nothing too special about any of his performances. Dominic Reyes got knocked out by a jab from Ryan Spann. I mean, we're using MMA math here. Anthony Smith has 2 wins over Ryan Spann. Dom Reyes got knocked out by his jab. Don't shoot the messenger, man. I'm just telling you how it is, okay? I'm just kidding. I mean, Dominic Reyes got knocked out by Yuri before that. The infamous double spinning elbow. Disgusting. Disgusting fight. I love Yuri, man. That fight was nasty. Jan Blachowicz, power puncher. Yep, that's going to happen. And then the fight where everyone thought he beat John Jones. He did beat John Jones, but unfortunately didn't get the nod, and his career went downhill. I just don't know why Dominic Reyes is a 3-1 favorite over Anthony Smith for beating Dustin Jacoby. I mean, Dustin Jacoby isn't good. Dustin Jacoby damn near has a losing UFC record. Why are we just giving Dominic Reyes all this praise? Anthony Smith has been more active. And might I just say, Anthony Smith has a stupid finish rate. This guy's won 3 decisions in his career. And he's got a lot of fights. He's the 38 professional wins. Only 3 of those are by decision. This guy's a fight finisher through and through. Dom Reyes a little more prone to go to decision. Doesn't have that much power. I don't know why people are saying that Anthony Smith is the most chinny guy on the roster. If anyone's chinny in this fight, it's Dominic Reyes. I'm going to make a very bold prediction here. I think Anthony Smith is going to club the shit out of Dominic Reyes and then choke him out on the ground. I haven't seen anything for me to think that Dominic Reyes has better jiu-jitsu than Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith has double-digit submission wins. He's submitting prospects like Petrino. Yeah, that fight was a little weird. Petrino just kind of dove into that and then just let it happen. I don't care. Anthony Smith is going to club Dominic Reyes and then work to his back and choke him out in the second round. Alright guys, sorry we had a little change of attire. It is the next day. I got a little busy, got carried away, lost track of time. Here we are the day before the fights. The way I don't like to do this, but it is what it is. We have Nate Landwehr and Doo Ho Choi. Nate Landwehr, a brawler. Doo Ho Choi, a brawler. This fight has potential to be fight of the night. I'm super excited for this one. I see a lot of love for Nate the Train coming in, but that line isn't moving. I think the sharp money's coming in on Doo Ho Choi, and that's where my pick is going to be as well. I think Nate Landwehr gets hurt way, way too much. People are talking about Nate the Train like he's this up and comer, like he's like a young star. This guy is 36. Yeah, Doo Ho Choi isn't much younger, if at all. But I think Doo Ho Choi just has what it takes to put him up. We just saw he broke Bill Algio's orbital. I'm pretty sure. I mean, Bill Algio, he just started holding his face and he quit. He couldn't take the Doo Ho Choi beating. Nate Landwehr, I've never seen this guy not hurt before. I've never seen Nate Landwehr not hurt in a fight. Okay, Doo Ho Choi is capable of putting it on him. He's going to put it on him fast, and he's going to keep that pressure up. Even if this fight goes into the later rounds, I think Doo Ho Choi can do what it takes to win this fight on the cards, and I love this spot for him. Although I did just say cards, my official pick is going to be Doo Ho Choi by knockout, but I don't think a decision is out of the question. Nate the Train is very durable, but he does get hurt often. Next fight up, Bryce Mitchell, Kron Gracie. Don't have too much to say about this one. Bryce Mitchell obviously coming off that devastating knockout loss to Josh Emmett. Kron Gracie sucks, okay? Bryce Mitchell, unfortunately, the way Bryce Mitchell generally wins his fights is by grappling heavy. I don't know if he's going to want to do that against Kron Gracie. I think his best bet's going to be striking, but I don't really know if he's going to do that. He always shoots. I don't doubt he's going to get a couple takedowns in this fight, and I just hope he stays safe. Give me Bryce Mitchell by decision. Next fight on the board, Ciryl Gane, Alexander Volkov. Ciryl Gane, here he is. Whether he wins, he loses. This guy always seems to find himself in number one contender fights. And I do think he's going to do it again, man. I just haven't seen the improvements out of Volkov that I would need to see to pick him against Gane. I see a lot of people showing him love for beating up Sergey Pavlovich. I understand. Initially, I overreacted. I threw down a tiny bit of money on Volkov, like right as the odds dropped a couple months ago. I'm just watching the fights back. I don't know. Volkov, he's gonna have to wrestle. If Volkov wants to win this fight, he needs to wrestle, and I haven't seen him wrestle, like at all recently. He subbed Tuivasa with an Ezekiel choke from top, but that was from a knockdown. He didn't take him down. I think if we were gonna see this new arc out of Volkov, this wrestling arc, I think we would have seen that in the Pavlovich fight. A lot of people were picking him to wrestle there. I thought if he wanted to win that fight, he was going to have to wrestle. I did pick and bet him because I thought he was going to wrestle, but he just jabbed him to a decision. I got paid, so I looked good, but it doesn't really change the fact that he didn't do that. And I think against Ciryl Gane, you're not going to win with a jab. You can't win by keeping range against Ciryl Gane. This guy keeps range better than anyone else. Yeah, you might be 6'7". That doesn't matter. Ciryl Gane is the better long distance striker. He proved that the first time in a 5-round fight. He did it 5 rounds straight on him. He didn't slow. It was a competitive 50-45, but it wasn't too close. I just think more or less the same thing is going to happen. With that being said, rematches almost never go the same way in combat sports. We learned that very, very hard in the PFL last weekend. Couple rematches, just this one guy, I'm not even going to try and name their names because it's like PFL MENA fighters. This one guy, Ultimate Decisionator, took him down, laid on this guy, full decision before. They're fighting like 2 months later. The other guy comes out, he smokes him in round 1 with a knockout. He's like a plus 400 dog. I mean, no one sees this shit coming. Rematches almost never go the same. We look at like Sergey Spivak and Marcin Tybura. Everyone was saying Tybura was going to wrestle him to a decision again. I saw a lot of love for Tybura. And then Spivak pulls out an armbar round 1, rolling armbar. You can't predict some of this shit. I feel like these rematches, they're never the same. The only rematches I can think of off the top of my head that are exactly the same is like the Volk versus Max. And that was just Volk beating him up for 2 out of those 3 fights. Even the Izzy versus Whitaker fights, knockout and then just a decision where it was like super close. Like you never really know what's going to happen in these rematches. Volkov probably doesn't want to lose to Gane twice. Volkov, this is kind of his last chance to get at the belt. He's going to be desperate. He's going to be more hungry than ever right now. If he loses this one, I don't think he's ever going to touch the belt or he's never going to fight for the belt. Whereas Ciryl Gane, this guy, he's always going to be around the top. The heavyweight division overall sucks, and Ciryl Gane is just a better striker than a lot of these fat guys. So I do think Ciryl Gane is going to win this fight by knockout. Nah, I'm kidding. Ciryl Gane by decision. If he's chopping the legs of Volkov, we do have to remember Volkov's coming off of a surgery. He had some knee issues. That's why he pulled out the first time, I believe. I mean, if Cyril Gane's kicking those legs, kicking those knees, you never know what could happen, man. I'm saying rematches don't go the same way. Maybe it gets stopped by a leg kick TKO, Cyril Gane. You never know. I might sprinkle something on that. I think the safe bet is Cyril Gane by decision. But Volkov, like I've been saying, he's hungry. He needs to go all in for this fight. So I think laying down minus 400 on Gane's a little silly, but I kind of get it at the same time. This fight right here, this is my most anticipated fight on the entire card. I am very curious to see how Shavkat Rakhmonov is going to deal with the challenge of Ian Garry. I see so many people everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, it's everywhere. Shavkat by murder, Shavkat by whatever he wants. I'm here to let you guys know Shavkat is not that fucking good. Alright, you see 18-0 all finishes, he's good. Don't get that twisted. I'm not saying Shavkat's a bad fighter. But dude, people saying he's gonna like 50-45 Belal, he's gonna choke out Belal, are you fucking stupid? Belal would play with Shavkat. Belal would massacre Shavkat. Belal might even fucking finish Shavkat. I said it. The second Shavkat meets a competent wrestler, he's toast. Obviously, Ian Garry is not going to be that wrestler. However, he does present a challenge. He's a long, lanky striker with decent takedown defense. The test in this fight is going to be Ian Garry's takedown defense. Can he escape that clinch? Shavkat's takedowns blow dick. I'm just going to say it how it is. Shavkat can't wrestle. He has decent clinch, kind of trips off the cage, that kind of takedown. He can't do an actual open mat double leg takedown. It's not going to happen. Shavkat does not move his head at all. Ian Garry's jab and his 1-2 are going to be there all night long. Part of the reason I said Belal's going to work Shavkat if they ever fight, we saw what he just did to Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards doesn't move his head either. Belal jabbed him all night long. Ian Garry is a very good striker. You can hate Ian Garry. You can call him a cuck. You can call him a fucking loser. I don't care. What you can't do is call him a bad fighter. Ian Garry has taken his career more serious than Shavkat. Shavkat has sat by the side for over a year at this point. Wonder Boy is more active than Shavkat. And Wonder Boy's gotten finished. Shavkat could have ring rust coming into this fight, which is insane to say from like an up-and-coming, the number one prospect in the UFC. He could legitimately have ring rust from how long he's sitting out. Whether you want to say that's not his fault, it is his fault, whatever, I'm in the impression you don't really deserve a title shot off of beating 41-year-old Stephen Thompson. But that's just my opinion. We giving Buckley a title shot now? No, we're not. Even though Buckley beat him better than Shavkat? Interesting. But Ian Garry here, I think it's so hard for me to say. I think he has potential. I think this fight's going to extend. Shavkat isn't going to impose his will on Ian Garry in the first fucking round. Shavkat's getting his clock cleaned by Jeff Neal. You want to look at those two fights? I see a lot of people saying like, similar competition, very different results. I mean, was it really different results? Ian Garry going into the Neil Magny fight, yeah, he was being a fucking weasel at the conference, calling Neil Magny like a child beater because he said he like spanks his son or something. That's fucking weird. I wouldn't call it that. He didn't want to finish Neil Magny. He wanted to inflict pain. That's why he sat there and he leg kicked him for 15 full minutes. I think that fight was scored a 30-24. We don't see too many 30-24s in the UFC. Yeah, Shavkat got him down, he guillotined him or whatever he did. Okay, sure. We want to look at the Jeff Neal fight. This is the one where a lot of people are like, well, Shavkat finished him, but Ian Garry went to a split decision. First of all, that fight was closer to a 30-27 Ian Garry than it was to a split decision win for Jeff Neal. Just would like to say that. Secondly, Shavkat was going life and death. You could have scored that 1-1. Yeah, it was 2-0 Shavkat, but that was an ultra competitive 2-0. That could have easily been 1-1. Secondly, Ian Garry did not take damage. Shavkat got outboxed, outstruck. He won that fight generally the same way Ian Garry did when he got his moments in the clinch and he got up and close. Ian Garry didn't take a single bit of damage. He negated Jeff Neal for all 15 minutes. That's impressive. Yes, it is also impressive to standing choke Jeff Neal. I'm not saying that's not impressive. I'm saying Ian Gary's game plan, his ability to make a plan for a fight, he knows exactly what he's doing. Ian Gary takes very calculated risks. He's not calling out JDM because that's a really tough fight for a striker like Gary. JDM's a great striker. That's a fucking awesome fight for the fans, but that's a risky fight for Ian Gary. He's been calling out Shavkat for a long time, which to me says that he sees something in Shavkat's game that he can take advantage of. Ian Gary had a way easier fight against Joaquin Buckley. Ian Gary would have fucking smoked Joaquin Buckley. He dropped that fight to take on Shavkat. He didn't have to do that. Shavkat was already going to get the title shot. This doesn't propel Ian Gary to a faster route to the title. Say Shavkat beat Belal. The UFC doesn't like Belal. They're not going to give Belal a rematch. Say Belal beats Shavkat. Shavkat's not going to get a rematch. Ian Gary's going to get the shot with a knockout over Buckley. This doesn't make his route to the title any easier. This is just a harder path for him, in theory. It's just very hard for me to think that Ian Gary would do this without legitimately believing deep down that he will win this fight. I see Ian Gary talking about Shavkat in these interviews. He's saying that he knows Shavkat, he's trained with Shavkat, he's felt the punches, he's felt the grappling. He says that he doesn't want anyone else to beat Shavkat before him, which is actually kind of hard. I'm not going to lie, that's a pretty hard quote. I just think that Ian Gary is going to put up a way better fight than these books are suggesting, than I see all these idiots on Twitter are suggesting. And I'm tempted to give it a shot here. I'm tempted to throw a flyer on Ian Gary. I think he definitely has potential to expose Shavkat. If this fight goes to the cards, I could see a split decision. If this fight goes to the cards, we're definitely going to be talking about like striking damage versus control versus ground and pound, all that stuff. I think this is a very, very competitive fight. For the value pick, I think Ian Gary is where all the value is. I don't know, man. If Shavkat does get him down, Ian Gary been training out of shoot box with Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is going to be in his corner. Obviously, that doesn't make you immune to getting subbed, immune to getting finished. We've seen Charles Oliveira guys get finished before. But Ian Gary's not going to roll over. He's not going to get to the ground and be clueless. He's going to survive. Shavkat does have great ground and pound. He has great pressure on the ground. He's always looking for the finish. What does Shavkat look like round 3, 4, 5, though? Whereas Ian Gary, I think his style is sustainable. Shavkat's style is not really sustainable for 5 full rounds of fighting. I know a lot of people are going to try and tell me this fight isn't going 5 rounds. I think it has potential to. I think it's at least going 3 to 4. I mean, Ian Gary, if he gets taken down, he's not going to roll over. He's going to work back to his feet. Or he's going to hold Shavkat in guard, hold him tight. Maybe even Ian Gary's going to throw up a fucking armbar. I don't know. Like, we don't know what they're training. Down in shoot box, those guys go to war in the training room. Ian Gary's not scared of a brawl. If this fight stays on the feet for the entire fight, Ian Gary's going to beat Shavkat. And it's not going to be close. Shavkat needs these takedowns. My official pick is unfortunately going to be Shavkat by like a round 5 finish. But if you think I'm betting on that, you're crazy. I just think eventually Shavkat's going to work in the grappling, work in the takedowns, and he has a chance to finish this fight because he is always looking for the takedown. The reason I'm not betting it is, as I just said, we don't know what Shavkat's going to look like in those rounds. I'm making my pick on the assumption that he has decent cardio. We don't know that. We can't prove that one way or another right now. I think Shavkat by sub or Gary by decision is a very good bet, a double chance bet, and I would actually implore you to take a shot, take a stab at that one. Because I think Ian Gary's a lot more alive than people are giving him credit for. I might even throw down on his money line just for the value. And in the main event, we have Buzzcut Pantoja versus Kaya Sakura. I mean, I'm just going to say it how it is. If you're getting knocked out by Manel Cap, you aren't beating Pantoja. Straight up, that's just how it is. Kaya Sakura's super aggressive, ultra aggressive, heavy knee pressure. He loves his knees. He loves his hooks. He is a fight finisher generally from what I've seen. He loves his finishes. He thrives under that Ryzen rule set. where you have the knees to the grounded opponents in the head, you have the soccer kicks, the stomps, all that shit. He thrives in that. They're in the boxing ring. He's never fought a guy like Pantoja before. I mean, you see this guy, he's like in the training room with Merab. You see Merab shooting like a half-ass takedown and Kai Asakura stuffs it. Pantoja's not going to just stop. Kai Asakura could legitimately land a 20-piece combination, all landing flush on Pantoja's face, and Pantoja will still walk forward and take him down. Pantoja is one of the grittiest fighters in the UFC. Pantoja is just a fucking dog. This guy doesn't back down. Steve Erceg landed like a step-in overhand elbow, sliced Pantoja up bad. Pantoja didn't give a fuck. He walked forward and he beat Steve Erceg. Now, I think Kai Asakura is going to put up a fight in like round 1. But I just don't see the fight going any other way than Pantoja's sub. I mean, if he doesn't get the sub, he's just going to lay on him for 5 rounds, like he did to Brandon Royval in those last few rounds. Pantoja's not a great striker. I think Kai Asakura is a better striker, but Pantoja just is able to get hit without getting knocked out. Pantoja's taken so much fucking damage, it's not even like, it's insane. I mean, for the people picking Kai Asakura, I just don't, you think he's going to knock out Pantoja? I mean, based on what? Most of Kai Asakura's knockouts, he's throwing knees to the guy's livers, they fold, and then he just like knees him on the ground or kicks him on the ground. I mean, Pantoja knows how to block his body, and most of these guys that Kai Asakura is fighting, they just don't even block their body one bit. I understand he's mixing it up with like knees up the middle and stuff, so they can't like always be blocking their body. But they aren't even like, they're not trying to. The liver is always open on this regional scene. It's weird. It's very weird to see. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't understand. Maybe they're just bums. I don't really know. My pick is Pantoja by submission. Pantoja by submission or decisions very live. I mean, it's just, I think this fight's easy for Pantoja. This is one of his easier fights in the division. I think Kai Asakura has potential in the UFC. He has a lot of fun fights that he could do. I just don't think this one's very winnable for him. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like. If you think my picks are shit, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to check out the video that's dropping just a couple hours after this, the complete betting guide. I'm going to be giving you guys some parlays. I'm going to be giving you guys some straight bets, some free picks, everything like that. And join the Discord, man, 100% free. I'll be giving out a free play in the Discord as well on UFC Fight Day. And yeah, man, that's all I can say. Discord's totally free to join. You want all the bets, join the VIP. Super cheap, super affordable. It's like 25 cents a day, man. You cannot beat the value. It's insane. Join the Discord, man. We'll hope to see you guys in there. We'll chat about some fights. We'll sweat some bets out. We'll get some prize picks going. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace out.